And now, episode 272 of
The Horror Guys. I'm Kevin,
And I'm Brian.
and we're going to talk about some horror movies. You are warned. Four horror movies in a short,
Yeah.
and plus 2 bonus films that we're going to kind of mention a
Kind
little
of
bit.
gonna be a sort of an under-the-table Bela Lugosi week.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of is.
Do you know why you're tying that in with Bela Lugosi?
Could
Could there be some reason?
Because we like Bela Lugosi?
So much that you wrote a book about him?
Oh, that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Last couple of weeks we've been talking about hourlongpress.com and the free books. Last week was Peter Cushing. The week before that was Vincent Price. This week it's Bela Lugosi.
The
I
man.
don't drink wine.
And more about the man, not the movies.
Not the movies as
Yeah.
much as the man himself. Yeah, it's an actual regular, biography, not necessarily horror focused, although it's kind of hard not to with him. Stop on over at horror.
No.
Hour Long Press. That's hour long because it takes about an hour to read them. They're not super long. hourlongpress.com. Sign up for our weekly newsletter there where you will get a free book every week. And like I said, the first 6 or 8 of these are going to be somehow horror related, biographies of famous horror people. And this week we've got Bela Lugosi, Dracula himself.
Mm-hmm.
And
other stuff.
we got
but
some
That's really what he's known for.
he did a lot of things, but
Yeah.
Dracula's the big one.
Yeah.
When you get buried in your cape, you're generally considered
Yeah.
typecast.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, yeah. So stop on over there and sign up for that. That was hourlongpress.com. And for our weekly horror newsletter, it's horrorbulletin.com because it's a bulletin about horror. Hard to figure that one out. And every week we do 6 movies and a short film, or sometimes even more. But what do we got this week?
Oh, we got a couple brand new things, Night Swim and Lisa Frankenstein, which are new for 2024. And then we got an old classic, Bride of the Monster. Speaking of Bela Lugosi, he stars in that. And we got 1956's Rodan,
Yeah.
Daikaiju.
Yeah, and of course on the newsletter where we do our bonus things, we're doing Ed Wood, which is kind of tying all these together because Ed Wood directed Bride of the Monster. He also directed our second bonus movie, Glenn or Glenda.
And this
Not
was,
even remotely horror, but it's Ed Wood, so it's worth seeing.
This was a Tim Curry movie.
Tim Curry. That would have been much more interesting.
Burton directed a movie in 1994 starring Johnny Depp playing Ed Wood, and it's kind of biographical about the real guy.
It's kind of realistic, it's kind of biography, and it's kind of comedy. They
Yeah.
do stretch a lot of the details.
But he was such a weird, eccentric guy, too, with weird, eccentric friends. that
Absolutely,
There was a
yes.
lot of material for him to work with. And it ended up being a pretty entertaining movie.
And the reason we included it this week is because it also includes a whole lot of Bela Lugosi, played by Martin Landau in an Academy Award-winning performance.
Right.
He was quite good.
Yeah, he was.
But from writing the biography of Bela Lugosi and watching Ed Wood, they took some liberties there.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in that movie that are not quite right.
It's not a straight-up documentary. It's based on...
It's probably more accurate about
based.
Ed Wood than it is the side characters like Bella.
Right, yeah. But it's entertaining.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, let's get started with our newest film, 2024's Night Swim. Directed by Bryce McGuire, written by him and Rod Blackhurst. Stars Wyatt Russell, Carrie Corden, Emily Hoferly, and Gavin Warren. Hour and 38 minutes. And
There's a trailer in the show notes.
there is, yes. I'm
I'll
not
link-
sure where
I'll
this
link
is
to-
streaming
link
right
to the
now.
Trailer. It's so new, I'm not sure.
We saw
if
it.
you-
It must be somewhere.
But if you do a justwatch.com, it'll tell you where
Yep,
it's
Just
streaming.
Watch always works.
Yeah.
Okay, spoiler free, what happens?
Well, this was good in every way. It's well made and creepy with a good cast. The big fault of this was predictability. A savvy viewer can guess, and we are savvy viewers, what's coming up pretty much at every stage, and they would be correct.
Yeah, it's very well made. It's Very, it's paced nicely. It's got good actors. It's got good
creepy.
acting.
The effects are, and it's chilling, spooky.
Yeah.
But you
know
think,
exactly where it's going to go all along.
This is going to happen next, and this explains that, and pretty much.
Also, the body count is suspiciously low.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, well, we're not going to read the entire thing because
it as good, not great, because of the predictability. But we're not going to spoil the heck out of it here.
Right? Yeah, it's new. You may not have seen it yet, so we'll just get into it basically. We start out in summer 1992. A little girl wakes up and notices there's a toy boat driving around their pool. She goes into her brother Tommy's room, and we see that he's on medical machines, some kind of life support system. She tells him she'll get his boat out of the pool. Then she goes out, and something pulls her into the water. We see some ghosts in the background as she drowns. Afterwards, there's no body in the pool. Credits roll.
Vanished.
Well, that was different. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
And that's the only body we get until like the end of the movie.
Well.
All right. In the present, Ray and Eve Waller look at buying a house for their 2 kids.
Izzy and Elegant.
Yeah. He's a former baseball star, and now he walks with a cane. Wonder what's wrong with him. We'll find out, probably.
We do.
This house has a big old pool in it, and Ray has always wanted a pool. He almost immediately falls in. Well, they're still looking at the house. He just reaches for a baseball that he sees floating in the water, and he falls right in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets a flashback to hitting a home run while he's down under the water.
Yeah, it's almost like he has a vision.
Yeah. Well, he gets out just fine. There's no problems. But then he goes to see the doctor later, and we're told that he has episodes of multiple sclerosis. That's why he's not playing anymore.
Uh-huh.
The doctor wants to run more tests, and she tells Ray to use that wheelchair more often. He's getting worse. See, she suggests low-impact exercise, like swimming.
Hey, you know a house we were looking at that had a pool.
They decide to buy that house with the pool. We get a quick moving-in montage, where Izzy is invited to the Christian Swim Club as Ray and family work to clean out this filthy pool. And it doesn't go smoothly.
No, so they call in an expert.
They make a big deal out of it being a Christian swim club.
I don't know.
That really doesn't come into it. It's not like
went anywhere.
Yeah,
no.
that's nothing special.
Yeah.
They call in a pool tech, and he says the pool is spring-fed and everything is natural. The overly philosophical pool guy, who's hilarious here, he's spitting out all this deep philosophy, and then he walks off the end of the diving board and does a face plant because he's a clod.
Uh-huh.
But he says they're lucky to have a pool like that. It fills itself. Before long, the whole family is enjoying the pool. Later that night, Eve is out swimming alone, and for just a second, she thinks she sees someone standing next to the pool. She goes inside, but everyone in there is in bed, so it wasn't one of them. Well, the cat goes missing the next night, and they find its collar in the water the very next morning.
See, there is a second body.
Okay, the cat counts.
Yeah.
Ray hurt his hand cleaning the pool a few days ago, but he's miraculously healed now. And this is the point where I had the whole movie figured out.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The doctor says Ray has made a dramatic improvement in his MS, and he credits the water therapy. And so did we, and we'll stop there.
And we should stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a healing spring, apparently.
With a price.
Yeah, or something.
Seems that way.
But the lesson here is that water is bad.
It's not just the pool water. There's water in a glass that does some weirdness.
Yeah.
The acting was decent. The plot moved along at a fair pace. And the ghosts, which are not a spoiler, we see ghosts right away. They're well done. And the plot, though, was entirely predictable. If we have any complaints, it's how predictable that plot was. At every stage, you know what's going to happen next, and the odd part is you'll probably be right every time.
Yeah, probably.
If you're into pools or ghost stories, this is kind of different. Overall, it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah. We liked it. It was fine.
Yeah.
Not the best thing we saw this week, I don't think.
Didn't hate it. Yeah. I say Lisa
right.
Frankenstein is the best one we saw.
I'm going to go there, too.
Yeah.
I should probably be embarrassed to say that, but that was my favorite of the week.
Yep.
Bride of the Monster, 1955. Directed by the great and fantastic Edward D. Wood, Jr. Written by him and also Alex Gordon. Stars Bela Lugosi, Tor Johnson, Tony McCoy, and Loretta King. hour and 9 minutes trailer in the show notes. Oh, actually, no, that's not a trailer. You can watch the whole movie.
You can
on
watch
there.
the whole
Yeah,
movie
the
for
whole
free
movie's
there.
there.
Yeah.
So we watched this Ed Wood movie last week, which is in the bonus. We're not going to talk about it here because it's not horror, but it goes into a lot of detail about how they made this movie and also that Glenn and Glenda movie that's also in its show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we ended up watching this one, and it's not that bad.
It wasn't that bad. We've certainly seen worse.
Ed Wood did Plan 9 for Outer Space,
Mm-hmm.
which is considered by many to be the worst horror movie ever made. Obviously, maybe not in the last 10 years. It's gotten a lot worse in a lot of them.
Well, that's the thing. See, there's so many indie people.
Back in the
and
day when
many
everything
indie
was
people-
studio productions, it was terrible.
Right, but
Yeah.
now, anybody can make a movie.
Yeah.
And many indie movies we've seen are very good, very
Oh, yeah,
entertaining.
definitely.
People do some really good work. But like I said, anybody can make a movie.
I'm sure you and I could make a much worse movie than Plan 9 from Outer Space.
There have been some that we have seen that, we have stopped where we've said, no, we can't review this. We can't be kind to it.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly an indie movie where they worked hard at it, but,
there's nothing good to say.
So it's hard to judge it now, with studio movies. You can say, that's the standard, I guess. But,
Yeah, so Plan 9 from Outer Space, you can see how cheaply and badly that was made. It really is kind of horrid.
and this one, too,
This one,
around the
though-
edges, but not as much, not nearly as much.
I was entertained with this one. I
Yeah.
did not hate it.
This was our first time seeing it all the way through. I'd seen clips before.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely low budget, and cheap and quick, but entertained.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's as good as many other movies from that time period.
Yeah.
It gets a lot of hate as an awful movie, a shining example of how bad a director that Ed Wood was, but we were pleasantly surprised by how much we enjoyed it. It's definitely not amazing, but it's got a cohesive story that moves briskly, and Bela Lugosi actually turns in a very good performance.
And it looks like he's having a hoot.
Yeah, you know he is.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it, especially after seeing the movie Ed Wood, that focused a lot on how they made this thing. And actually, Ed Wood really makes it look a lot worse than it really was. The final product wasn't so bad.
Yeah. And actually, this was a moneymaker. This was the only one of his movies that really made money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, after he made like 3 or 4 movies there. Actually, I think we've covered them all now. Bride of the Monster, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
But what was
Glenn
it,
and
64
Glenda.
movies he made?
He was the writer on many others.
Okay,
He didn't
yeah.
he didn't direct or produce
All right. But
most of them.
yeah, a lot of them now.
Yeah. All right, well, what happens? This is like almost 90 years old, so just go ahead and spoil it to death.
Well, 2 men comment on the unusual storm. They talk about a monster that lives in the big house over there, but they decide to have a look at it anyway. The house is supposed to be deserted, but they check it out. It's clearly not. There's lights on. So they bang on the door, and Dr. Eric Vornoff opens the door. The old man tells them to go away and calls for Lobo, a giant bald man, his henchman apparently. The 2 men thinks that he's the monster and run off, but Vornoff laughs at the idea. Wait until you see the real monster.
Wait until you see the real monster.
Yeah.
You got to say it like
that with the accent, yeah. Well, Vornoff goes into his lab and looks in at a giant octopus. He's got like a window where he can see underwater. He activates some scientific equipment in his lab and watches the octopus, and the 2 men from earlier are attacked by both the octopus and Lobo.
One of them gets away and Lobo grabs him.
One wakes up later strapped to a table in the lab. Vornoff throws some switches. He's planning to create a supercharged atomic soldier. But the man dies. 'Cause
Science is hard.
Science is hard, yeah. He keeps trying to get it right. Well, okay, meanwhile, the police book a vagrant who was in the swamp last night. Captain Robbins calls in Lieutenant Dick Craig, and they talk about the 12 recent disappearances. The locals think there's a monster out there, but the police don't. Janet, a newspaper reporter who is also Craig's fiancée, wants the story. She thinks the captain is covering up for something, since he still denies there's a monster, so she tells them her plans to go up to Lake Marsh herself to snoop around. Well, Professor Strowski comes to the police station to talk about the Loch Ness monsters and some similarities to what's been going on. Janet does some research about the old Willow House on Lake Marsh, And then she drives up there and wrecks her car. She faints.
Women drivers in the 50s, you know how this works.
Stereotype. She faints at the sight of a snake, and Lobo carries her back to the house. Well, the next morning, Craig and Marty come out to the swamp to investigate the disappearances. They comment on the weird weather and blame it on atomic testing. And they leave just as Strowski arrives on the scene. Well, Janet wakes up to meet Voronov and Lobo in the lab. Lobo likes her, but Voronov drives him off with a whip. She wants to know if he knows anything about the monster. Well, he hypnotizes her and puts her to sleep just as Strowski sneaks in the front door. It turns out that Strowski and Voronov know each other quite well, and Strowski expected to find Voronov there. Well, the professor wants Voronov to return to their country, but Voronov makes a whole speech about being banned from his homeland and having no home. It's a very angry speech. Oh, so Strowski pulls a gun, saying his government ordered him to bring Voronov back. Well, Lobo grabs the foreign scientist and feeds him to the octopus. That's a well-fed octopus.
Very well fed, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Meanwhile, outside, Lieutenant Craig walks through the swamp and shoots at an alligator as he sinks in quicksand. And he quickly escapes both problems.
I smell stock footage.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Back at the lab, Voronov has Janet dress in a wedding gown. While they're in there, Craig enters the front door of the house and snoops around. Voronov whips Lobo and some more to get him to strap Janet down to the table.
It's always good to get your minions' loyalty by whipping them every few minutes.
Yeah, regularly, so they know who's in charge. Voronov calls her the Bride of the Atom, which was actually the working title of the film. Craig storms in, and Lobo comes in and whacks him from behind. Lobo turns on Voronov, who is forced to shoot him, because he's sweet on Janet, and he's going to experiment on Janet. Lobo don't like that. Well, Lobo knocks out Voronov and releases Janet.
Now, Voronov shoots Lobo like 5 times.
Doesn't seem to have any effect on him.
There's no blood because it's the 50s, but it doesn't even slow him down.
No.
Okay.
Well, Lobo puts Voronov on the table, straps him down, and turns on the equipment. He knows what he's doing, and Voronov screams. Except this time the process works. So Voronov rips out the straps, and he's bigger and stronger than Lobo now.
Now, Voronov has done this to like 12 men, and they've all died. Lobo did it once, and it works for him.
Yeah. Well, the two titans fight, and Lobo eventually dies. Voronov grabs his bride and carries her outside with Craig in pursuit. Captain Robbins and some policemen come up to the house. They meet up with Craig, who all chase into the swamp after Voronov. Voronov puts Janet down and runs off, but the policeman's bullets don't bother him at all now. Craig rolls a boulder onto Voronov, knocking him into the clutches of the giant octopus. Lightning strikes them both, setting off an atomic explosion.
Yeah, all the heroes are like, 100 yards away, and then we see this giant atomic mushroom cloud go off, but they're standing there watching it. So
yeah,
it's a real small atomic blast.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, much of the making of this film can be seen reenacted in the comedic biopic Ed Wood. We watched the colorized version of The Bride of the Monster on Tubi. The link in the show notes will take you to the black and white version on YouTube, but if you want to see it in color, it's on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Plan 9 from Outer Space and other Ed Wood films, this isn't as awful as most of his films are assumed to be. The monster octopus is just a big rubber prop, but it's still fun. Logo got shot 6 times, but there's no blood, and it barely slows him down, but he is supposed to be a normal human.
That's how tough he was.
It's even explained that he came from Tibet or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this turned out to be Bela Lugosi's last speaking role. He supposedly took $1,000 for the performance, which was oddly energetic for an actor of his age. He was like 72, and yeah, he's running around and doing the whipping and
looking
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's having a ball doing it, too.
Yes, he did.
It moves quickly and doesn't have time to get boring. Lugosi here really hams it up, and Tor Johnson is always fun to watch.
Yeah, I think that helped, too, with it being so short. It just moves through the story and, from one thing to the next. And,
yeah.
gets her done.
What was this? An hour and
Hour
nine
and
minutes.
9 minutes. Yeah.
I like them when they're short like that. They don't waste a lot of time on stuff they don't need.
So if you're a fan of campy 50s sci-fi horror, this is one we'd recommend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if y'all like those short things, we've got a short film this week called Ride, Baby, Ride.
We saw a short one.
Written and directed by Sophie Somaroff. Stars Selena Bernstein, Anthony Richard Pagliaro, and Sam H. Clodder II. 7 hours, 15 seconds.
7 minutes, 15 seconds, not hours.
Okay, yeah, it's a short
It's a
film.
short
It's not a mini-series. A little over 7 minutes.
Free to watch on YouTube.
Yep, there's a link in the show notes to watch the thing on YouTube. And what happens? Sorta.
Well, a woman works on an engine. She's a mechanic who offers to buy two men's old Camaro. They make kissy faces at her, and they're, obviously harassing her. She just ignores them. Well, later, alone in the garage, she starts hearing noises.
Is that one of those guys hanging around?
Well, the trunk on the Camaro she's working on pops open, and she goes to investigate. When she closes it, the door pops open again. What is with this car?
I guess you'll have to tune in and find out.
Well, the moral of the story seems to be don't lowball an offer on someone's car, as the car itself might get offended. The sounds and the visuals are really good here. It's never quite clear what's going on until the end. It's gory and it's good.
Yeah, we liked it. It's very good.
It's kind of a body horror, little touch of Lovecraftian it made me think of. But yeah, it was good.
Okay.
I thought it was well done.
Yeah, can't compare it to a certain Stephen King story without spoilers.
It's different though. Yeah.
Rodan, 1956. Directed by Ishiro Honda. Written by David Duncan, Takeshi Kimura, and Ken Kuronoma. Stars Kenji Sahara, Yumi Shirakawa, Akihiko Hirata, and Akio Kabori. Hour and 14 minutes. I guess I'm going to read this one because it's full of Japanese names.
Yes, you are.
Spoiler free, what happens?
Spoiler free. It's dated, yet kind of fascinating, with an epic story of people versus big creatures. And the miniatures work. I mean, you can see it's miniatures, but it's pretty good, and the effects get the job done. I mean, it's 1950s sci-fi.
It's not great by today's standards.
Yeah, but it gets the job done. There is mass destruction and plenty of characters to root for. We thought it was a pretty fun watch.
A lot more creatures in this one than I thought there was going to. I thought there was going to be the big bird thing, but there's more to it
it's
than that.
Rodan plus others, yeah. Not Godzilla, not Godzilla on this one.
Nope, no Godzilla here.
But a close cousin. Yeah.
We open in a scientific base that houses a huge new kind of bomb. The test commences and the bomb explodes. The hydrogen bomb explodes and the voiceover is very dramatic. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, another bomb is being tested. What is the aftermath? This is the story of such an aftermath. Okay. Well, Shigeru tells us about his village, a small mining community. The floor of the mine is creeping, which means there's too much coal has been taken out. Guess that's a subsidence kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that's what they meant.
It's a problem to be solved. Mine 8 has 2 meters of water in it, which is unusual. Shigeru is the mine's safety officer, and he and some other men have to go down and check it out. Well, they find one of the miners dead, cut to pieces.
That's not normal for a mine.
The doctor doesn't know the cause of death, but it was no accident. Shigeru talks to his girlfriend Kiyo, whose brother Goro is the other missing miner. 3 more men are killed in the mine, and we hear a kind of insect noise as they die. Shigeru and Kiyo are chased by a monster insect a few hours later. The miners and soldiers chase the bug up the side of a hill and shoot at it. The military is soon called in. That bug thing clearly came out of the mine, so what else could be down there? They kill the creature, but continue to explore the tunnel it came from. They find a second creature, but it's quickly killed by a cave-in. Shigeru is trapped in this cave-in as well. Suddenly there's an earthquake. Professor Kashiwagi inspects the area near the volcano. They go to investigate. They find Shigeru there, alive and uninjured. He also has a complete loss of memory. Kashiwagi explains later that the insect is a kind of prehistoric specimen, and he wants to study the body. At the air base, one of the fighters reports something supersonic flying over the sea. The fighter jet can't keep up, and whatever it is kills the plane. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
The British cargo plane is also attacked, so all air travel in the area is canceled. The thing flies so high that no one can really make it out, and it's been as far away as Peking and the Philippines.
Uh-oh.
The nearby volcano, Mount Toya, is getting ready to erupt. This attracts tourists and gawkers who want to see. A young couple is killed on the mountain and carried away. Cows have been stolen. The missing couple's camera film has been developed, and there's a shot of a big bird.
Could it be Rodan?
It could be.
Could be.
Shigeru has a flashback to his time in the cave. He saw a giant egg hatching down there, and a huge lizard bird hatched out of it. How would you forget that?
It was so shocking. It was so shocking and appalling that his mind blanked it out.
His memory returns, and he tells Kashiwagi and everyone else what he saw. The big bird ate all the giant insects inside the mine, and the men go back into the mine to recover a piece of that giant egg's shell. The creature must be the UFO that's been flying around, and everybody's seen it. They soon find the creature, which they now call Rodan, in a cave on the north side of the volcano. Jet fighters are scrambled, and they manage to annoy Rodan, who wakes up and takes to the air. Oh, there's two of them.
Uh-oh.
There's a chase, and the airplanes shoot at the Rodans. They are heading for a nearby city, so the humans turn on the air raid sirens. Rodan knocks down a big bridge and takes a plane along with it. As Rodan flies over to the city, buildings collapse, and the locals run everywhere in a panic. You've seen these Japanese monster movies before. You know how the locals run everywhere.
And there's a pretty big body count in this one.
They call in the tanks, but that also does nothing. If they're not killed, they'll take over the earth. Of course, there are only two of them. Then,
yeah, but they're a breeding pair.
Well, that's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Then the Rodans disappear for a week. They all assume that the Rodans are hibernating after their big meal. The mine boss wants to bomb the volcano to bury them in the eruption. The army sets up all their tanks and rockets, and they commence firing on the volcano. We get many shots of explosions on the mountaintop, and it goes on and on. The volcano erupts, and one of the Rodans is injured. It crashes and burns in the lava. The other refuses to save itself and flies into the lava on purpose. The end. Never see them again.
So the bugs are a little bit of a red herring here.
They are.
They're the minor villain.
And this was the first Toho film that was shot in color. Rodan's Japanese is Radon, which is short for Pteranodon.
Oh.
George Takei was one of the first Japanese Americans to do English voiceovers in a film. And he's like, is he the narrator?
No, he's a voice a couple times.
He's just a voice guy. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, that's right. He did some of the dubbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chinese actors had mostly been previously used, but this one's got a huge cast, but the English dub only has 4 actors in the cast. They had 4 guys doing all the roles. The constant high-pitched noises from the Rodans gets annoying fast also.
Yeah, a little bit.
The creature is, as expected, a man in a suit, but this time he's suspended on wires. That must have been fun.
Yeah.
The effect isn't quite as bad as it sounds. The miniatures work is quite good as we see a bunch of buildings get squashed. They have some nice little plastic cities built up.
Yeah, they do.
The flying combat and artillery shelling at the end drag on a little bit too long, but they probably considered that was the climax of the film, so it was excusable. It's all right.
It was okay, yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
What's next?
Lisa Frankenstein, which was a brand new one this year. Directed by Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter. Her directorial debut here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Written by Diablo Cody. Stars Catherine Newton, Cole Sprouse, Henry Eikenberry, and Carla Gugino. Gugino?
I really don't know. She's been in everything. I don't know if it's Gugino.
But it's a face you recognize.
Yes.
Yes. Runtime is 1 hour and 41 minutes, and there's a trailer on YouTube.
Spoiler free. This was a lot of fun, with good lines and dark humor bleeding in with the horror. Teenage love is awkward enough without complicating things with a holdover from Dr. Frankenstein's experiments. The casting is perfect, and while the script was a hair predictable, we liked pretty much everything about it.
Yeah.
And not too long ago, we watched Warm Bodies, the one where the girl falls in love with a dead zombie.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the same, but it's got enough differences to make it interesting.
Very much so, yeah. And it's a little bit Tim Burton-esque.
Oh, it's very Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah. Cole Sprouse as the creature is
very Johnny Depp.
If you've seen Johnny Depp in
any Tim Burton
Sweeney
movie.
Todd, well, especially Sweeney Todd made me think of it. Yeah, there's some reminiscence there of
Yeah, I wonder if this was a script that was done for Tim Burton and he didn't have time or something, and it got passed on. Because this could absolutely be a Tim Burton movie.
I could see it doing it, yeah.
It looks like it's like the same set designs and everything. Oh, well, anyway, what happens?
But it was really good, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make it bad.
After the credit sequence, we open on Lisa and her stepsister Taffy getting ready for a rager party. And we quickly see that Lisa doesn't have very good luck, and she's not very popular at high school either. She's kind of a goth girl who's into dark poetry. And she mentions that she's got a crush on Michael Trent, who is cerebral. Well,
the sister asked, that means he's in a wheelchair, right?
Well, she likes to visit the cemetery where she does wax rubbings of tombstones. And there's one in particular that she's pretty infatuated with. It's got a statue of a guy who died young, and the name Frankenstein is on the stone. Well, at the party, Michael introduces himself, and Lisa is surprised that he knows who she is. Taffy tells friends the story of how Lisa's mother was killed by an axe murderer who got away. Well, Lisa has one drink, gets quickly messed up because it was laced. Doug helps her find a trash can to puke in. He clearly likes her, but she runs when he tries to get romantic.
Was it laced? I thought you just never had anything before.
No, it was laced with something. Yeah, and it was a mix-up. They didn't realize they offered it to her and didn't even realize it was drugged. And yeah, so it hit her hard and fast. Well, somehow she wanders from the party to the cemetery just as a thunderstorm springs up.
She walks out the back door of the house, and then all of a sudden she's in the middle of the cemetery.
Well,
it was an edit there, yeah.
Well, it was an edit, plus it's her point of view being just absolutely blitzed, stoned, whatever that was in the drink. No, not just alcohol. Well, she soon finds her favorite statue before going home. And back at the cemetery, lightning strikes the statue and the grave. Lisa has a very cool dream about the statue man, all in black and white.
More Tim Burton-y visuals.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the morning, Lisa's stepmother, Janet, blames her for breaking the mirror in the bathroom. Michael comes to visit Lisa's work to apologize for accidentally getting her high. And that night, while everyone else is out, someone breaks into her house. It's some kind of undead monster who has risen from the grave. Well, after some of the dirt washes off, she recognizes him as her statue man. So she hides him in her bedroom. He can't talk. He's mute and he's missing a hand. Well, she makes him cry, which is
smells really
stinky.
Bad.
Yeah, his tears smell awful. She gets him into the shower, which helps a lot, but he's still not going to pass for alive. He looks pretty bad. But she puts on some clean clothes on him and combs his hair. When the family gets home, there's mud and filth everywhere, and along with a lot of broken furniture damage and a broken window. She tells her that she tells them that someone broke in, but they ran away. Yeah, that's it. Well, Janet is not pleased. She says Lisa is either crazy or just very inconsiderate.
Yeah, we should probably stop there.
Yeah, so she's got basically a creature, a Frankenstein creature.
Living in her closet
Living
upstairs.
in her closet, and hilarity ensues.
All right, well, we got the Tim Burton vibe from the opening credits, and it never really goes away. Even as the words were going on the screen, I'm like, this looks like a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, the shots through the cemetery. Yeah.
Maybe his movies are just a little too distinctive, if it's that obvious.
Uh-huh.
The creature, played by Cole Sprouse, even resembles Johnny Depp from Sweeney Todd, and several other movies, too. It's Sideburns, probably.
Yeah.
Burton was clearly a heavy influence on first-time director Zelda Williams, who's Robin Williams' daughter. The soundtrack immediately stands out, as do the various dream sequences. The concept is very close to 2013's Warm Bodies, but different enough to be interesting. I was kind of surprised by the stepsister, Taffy. You know, the stepsister is always the evil, vindictive, snotty one. But here, she was actually very nice and supportive. She's like the only good character in the movie, not the evil type at all.
And Warm Bodies was apocalyptic. I mean, it was quite different. The movie around the two characters was very different. But there's at its core, it's an undead guy and a girl falling in love, trying to connect.
Yes.
You know.
Can she fix him?
Yeah.
It's got a lot of funny lines and situations. It looks great, and the pacing moves right along. It's extremely predictable. You know it's going to have a happy ending at the end, but it was still very good.
It was.
And
yeah.
I think it is my favorite of the week.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Would highly recommend.
Okay, and we're not going to talk about it here, but if you go over to horrorbulletin.com, you can also read our long synopsis and reviews and commentary on Ed Wood from 1994, which tells the ridiculous story of a cross-dressing director who made some of the worst movies of all time. Stars Johnny Depp and is directed by Tim Burton. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it also features Martin Landau as a very old, very weird Bela Lugosi. Mm-hmm. And then just because we talked about Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi, we threw in Glenn or Glenda, 1953. Made by Ed Wood. It was his first film. He made it in 4 days, and it's something.
He's the main actor in it.
He is, yes.
And he really was a heterosexual transvestite.
Which is what the movie is about.
As his main character. It's got a rough storyline, but it's more of almost like a public service announcement. Documentary. Yeah. About, transsexuals, transvestites, what their life is like, trying to portray them as ordinary people that deserve lives and happiness too, and their struggles. And it's weird and choppy, but it's kind of interesting.
The topic was way ahead of its time.
It was.
It's a very bad movie. It's very poorly made, but the topic, it still works today.
Yeah, it's got relevancy today, but 1953, 50 plus years ago now.
71 years ago.
Sorry,
yes.
math is
long
hard.
Time ago.
Math is hard, yeah.
All right, and again, Bride of the Monster and Ed Wood and Glenn and Glenda all have Bela Lugosi in it. And if you are a fan of Bela Lugosi, why not pick up the free biography? Stop over at hourlongpress.com, click on the link to pick that up for free for the next 5 days from Amazon. And while you're there, get on the mailing list and we'll notify you by email about every free book that we offer, which will be every week or two as time goes on. Right? It's going to be every week for the next 6 or 7 weeks, but I'll bet it probably cuts back to every other week when I can't keep up.
We'll see.
So that's hourlongpress.com, horrorbulletin.com, horrorguys.com, horrorguyspodcast.com, horrorguysshop.com. Buy our other books. Yes, we didn't even mention other books. Giving all these books away. We got books you can buy, too.
So many
websites. Let's see if we can come up with 3 or 4 more websites by next week.
Oh, you should, totally.
But that's it for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.